Well, the Toronto Blue Jays made us think that they were an actual baseball team for a couple days, but then in classic Toronto Blue Jays fashion, it all went up in flames.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. We have Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. As always, I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Wasco, Carter First, too, as well on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. As well, if you're new here on YouTube, you might as well drop a subscription. It really helps us out, keeps us at the top of your page. And you can hit that little bell icon, too, so that you're notified whenever we go with a live or a short or video at all, whatever. Lot to get into. Lots to get into. There's the big Game 3 finish that went to extras and saddened all of us. There was the crazy Horwitz game that we got to talk about. You can pretty much call it that because that's about all it was. And then finally, a series preview plus some interesting information that just came out, Carter, that we will definitely get into. But just like, let's start with your thoughts on the weekend. We were sort of, it was sort of very up and down.
Yeah, the Toronto Blue Jays, they win one baseball game, so congrats to them, and they continue on with their tankathon. So if you're looking at it from the broad perspective, congratulations to your Toronto Blue Jays. Continue to just work on getting a better pick, get a better chance at getting Ethan Holiday. That's kind of what we're hoping for at this point in the season. But yeah, just a few different baseball games throughout this weekend. The Friday game, not very fun to watch, not exciting as for a Blue Jays fan. Saturday was a butt beating, to say the least, by the Toronto Blue Jays. That score looks a lot closer because of the ninth inning. I'm not counting the ninth inning. Ninth innings don't count. 8-inning game, the Toronto Blue Jays should have won that one 9-1, even 9-2, whatever. They do get the W in that one. And then defense. Defense isn't something we've necessarily talked about a lot on this podcast, but it comes to hurt the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit in this last game here. You look at Aston Barger throwing the ball away in the 10th inning, or maybe it was the 11th inning in extra innings. And you have Spencer Horwitz and Ernie Clement, as we're probably going to get into first here, just a play up the middle, and that's where we are going to start. This play, first hitter in the bottom of the 9th inning. You can't allow this guy to get on base. Just a little bit of a misread, maybe from Ernie Clement, just maybe a little bit of a lazy play by Spencer Horwitz. What are you analyzing from this situation? And from the people that don't know what the play was looking like, you got Spencer Horwitz playing second, Ernie Clement playing short. The ball kind of gets hit up the middle, pretty close to being between Ernie Clement and Spencer Horwitz. And the Toronto Blue Jays don't get an out. And obviously, Matt Olson comes up later on in that inning, and they tie the game and go on to win it in the 11th inning. So, Braden, whose fault was that? Are you blaming that on Spencer Horwitz or Ernie Clement? How do they do this better? And how big of a turning point was this in this Toronto Blue Jays game?
Yeah, I mean, huge turning point. I mean, if you want to call it, it's the TSN turning point right there. That's the game. That's what sort of solidified it. You know, you think you have the game in the bag, and then a play like that happens where, I mean, sort of unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I think there could have been a play, and you asked me who I'm blaming. And it's Spencer Horwitz. And I don't like to say that because I like Spencer Horwitz and I've liked everything he's done for this team. But I'm going to call that a lazy play. I went back and I watched it over again because I thought I was like, oh, man, I really could have sworn he could have got to that baseball. So then I would go back and I rewatch the play a few times. And I sort of came to my conclusion that it was a lazy play. Spencer Horwitz has enough time to be able to get in front of that baseball. Instead, he goes for the backhand grab, bobbles it, and that's it. And yeah, if he can get in front of that baseball, maybe he doesn't make the throw, but maybe it stops the runners. Maybe, you know, I think he would have been able to get him out. So at the end of the day, I think it was just a little bit of a lazy play. You could even see it sort of on his face afterwards. I think he knew he could have made that play. And again, I don't want to rag on him too much. End of the year, these games really don't matter. And he's done great things for this Toronto Blue Jays team. So I really don't want to take too much out of this one thing that happened. But I think, you know, we have the conversation on, you know, only the bats matter. Who cares about defense? Get the bats going. Whatever the pitching staff does, they do. But at the end of the day, I mean, there are plays like this, and then the Addison Barger play is what comes at the end of the day to kill you. And when if you're a playoff team, and you just will not have those plays happen, you won't have those mistakes. Otherwise, you're going to be looked at like the Texas Rangers when the Blue Jays were, sort of running around the diamond back in 2015, 2016. So again, Carter, my assessment is Spencer Horwitz could have made that play. It was lazy. But again, I don't take a ton out of this.
You can't when you're at this point in the season. You can't actually, especially after what Spencer Horwitz did in that second game of the series, and he just put your team ahead 2-1 in that game as well. The way I kind of looked at it is, both infielders looked very unsure when that ball was hit. It didn't look like them really wanted the ball. Again, it was right in the middle of the two of them. A little bit of misreads there. It's probably easier for Ernie Clement to make that play as he's ranging towards first base. It's just easier to get the throw off. But I think Spencer Horwitz was a little bit closer, and that's, I think, where you're getting this laziness from. I don't know if it's necessarily a laziness play. I think it's just a terrible read by both players. That Spencer Horwitz breaks so late, and that's what he's not underneath the ball, and that's what it kind of handcuffs him a little bit. And then you start having some problems. And then again, you look at that part though. You look at that play. You want that play to be made. It should be made if you want to be a playoff team. That's a play that needs to be made. Obviously, to be successful, but you have a million other opportunities to win this baseball game. Like again, that's the first hitter of the inning. You have a leadoff single, I guess you could call it, reaching on the air. You can get a double play ball right after that. You can strike out the side. There's a million different outcomes that can happen. So I'm not one that unless it's like a really bad, like horrendous play. Maybe if there's more on the line, I'm more frustrated about this. But when you have that play and you looked at all the other at-bats in this game, all the other plays, you go to the 11th, you go to the 10th inning. There's all of these other options and times that the Toronto Blue Jays could have won this game. Yes, you got to make that play. But maybe that's why I'm not as mad as maybe we should be at this play, or maybe it's just because I love Spencer Horwitz. It's a little bit of bias there as well. But just going into you go to the 11th inning. We'll go jump right into there now. Addison Barger, pretty easy ground ball to third base. Again, a play you have to make. It's fun when Addison Barger launches the ball across the diamond and it's on target and he's throwing it a million miles an hour. Definitely fun for the enjoyment part of it. But then it really sucks when he throws the ball wild and it just is going into the bleachers or around the outfield wall at 100 miles an hour. And that's just a play that I rather see Addison Barger kind of just get it a little bit quicker. He likes to just kind of cock it up and show off that arm strength, which is nice. But when you don't have the accuracy, it's not too fun to watch those kind of throws. And that's another play you have to make. I think they get lucky there in that instance that the ball actually stayed in the park, went out of the park, because I think they could have won the baseball game right there. You get lucky, you get runners on third and second, sort of saves you the game for a moment. But not something we've talked about a lot defensively with this Toronto Blue Jays team. With these younger guys, with their lack of experience, something that we might have to work through a little bit of these growing pains for these guys in the infield and outfield.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of watching, for those of you who watch Locked On Blue Jays often, Dallin Wilton back on the mound, just trying to throw 100 miles an hour, but no accuracy. Shout out to Bubba on that one. Hope he's listening. No, it's frustrating, right? Because you think that play can be made. And I don't think it's necessarily like Addison Barger, like trying to show off necessarily. It's more so he throws how he's going to throw. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, settle yourself in and just make a good straight throw over there. And at the end of the day, when you're trying to throw hard and you think you have to rush that throw and get it over there quick, sometimes you overthrow. I mean, that's happened to me in slow pitch, for goodness sakes. And so it definitely happens to these guys in the MLB.
Another thing with this Addison Barger play is there's a runner on third base and he's checking the runner for some reason, which I don't understand whatsoever. You get a chopper that's in front of you. You'd be able to see the runner if he was in front of you. You decide to take your eyes off first base. It's just the mental game. It can throw you off a little bit if you don't have your eyes on the target. Again, this is very fundamental stuff, but any little thing like that, any little tweak, little twist could throw off your ball, especially when you're throwing as hard as Addison Barger. And I agree. I don't think he's showing off whatsoever. It's tough to look at from a fan when you see that guy kind of take his time and then just launch the ball into the dirt. Again, he's obviously not trying to do that, but doesn't look the greatest. But for me, again, completely separate argument here. I'm kind of just throwing this in here. I'd rather see Addison Barger play the outfield, I think. I think you do a Davis Schneider thing with Aston Bartu. He has a rocket of an arm. He's going to be gunning people out left, right, and center. The accuracy, again, you need good accuracy from the outfield, but you miss those plays. You don't get the runner out at third rather than Aston Bartu launching the ball past Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But that's a completely different problem. Toronto Blue Jays, you got to score runs. You got Chris Sale. You got to tip your cap one of those games in the third game of the series. And then Raisel Iglesias, not in this game, but in that other game as well. This guy's ridiculous. He has like a 1.2 ERA. When there's good pitching that comes to face Toronto Blue Jays players, especially when they're young players, they're going to get the best of you for the first couple times at least.
Yeah, Carter, and sort of one more thing that I wanted to go over from this game is just the 10th inning. I mean, I don't know, you get the bases loaded, intentionally walks flat, and you really don't do a whole lot with it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch the bases loaded and really nothing happens. I mean, that's where you put your foot down, pedal the metal a little bit and be able to score a ton of runs and solidify that game away pretty much. But instead it goes the other way and they're able to score and come back, and that's how it goes. It's frustrating. And that's sort of something we've been dealing with all year long with this Toronto Blue Jays team is timely hitting. And this team just does not have timely hitting whatsoever. And when they intentionally walk flat, I mean, I pretty much was like, oh, well, that's not good. Here's your one guy that can salt a game away for you. And he's, now is sitting on first base. So end of the day, whatever. Again, these games don't necessarily matter, but again, it's pieces that we're seeing to look into next year and what works, what doesn't work, what needs to be changed. Well, if I'm still looking at this team right now, Carter, there still has to be a lot of changes made for me to really feel comfortable about this ball club in 2025.
Absolutely. This won't be the team going into 2025. If somehow it is, then Rogers has done us completely dirty. It sucks when you talk about timely hitting as well, because they actually do get a hit with a runner on second. It's Ernie Clement, but it's a liner up the middle, and Ernie has to freeze because he thinks the ball could be caught. You don't want to be caught running and turn yourself into a double play there. So you do get the hit, but you don't get the run, which is very frustrating. And obviously you don't score, which puts that play in the spotlight a little bit more aggressively. That's pretty much all I got for the third game. It's just an unfortunate loss, and I just want to get this out there now. I don't know if you guys have noticed with my voice. We'll talk about a little bit of adventures on this weekend, but I got up to some yelling at the Bomber game that we did have on Saturday. One of the biggest ones for the Bombers this year. So I definitely enjoyed myself, but the voice is taking a little bit of a toll. But saying that, we do have a couple other games we want to go into. There is one big name that we will not be seeing for the Toronto Blue Jays for the remainder of the season. We'll have to put a stamp on that for 2025. But we have a lot more to talk about, a lot more we want to get into. We're just going to take a short break, and we'll be coming at you with a ton of Blue Jays content coming up.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk so much about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3 free week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Trust me, we'll be taking full advantage because as football season's now kicked off, here we go, right into the mix. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Again, FanDuel, this is a perfect deal. If you're a football fan, most of us are. We're baseball fans or football fans or hockey fans. Might as well take advantage of this and join up with that. So, Carter, like you said, my man, a little bit of some weekend adventures for sure. We'll talk about a little bit of that in the third segment as well. Huge announcement from a player that we won't be seeing the rest of the season. So make sure you guys stick around for the third segment. We'll let you in on who that is. Carter, going into the Horwitz game, I know this is your boy, your guy. We got to talk about it. We sort of just dogged him a little bit in that last segment, but now we're going to prop him back up because it was an amazing game. Carter, why don't you kick things off?
Absolutely. It's my honor and privilege to do this one about Spencer Horwitz. What a day this guy had. Spencer Wellenbach goes out there, has had a very good season from the rookie. I don't remember what the stat is, but there's a significant amount of games that he's had 3 earned runs or less in, shouting that just over 3 ERA. Obviously a pretty good pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, and it comes at a good time when they're trying to make their push for the playoffs. But Spencer Horwitz didn't care about the rookie's debut with the Toronto, and he blasted on that franchise because, boy, this guy ever have a good game. 11 total bases, 2 home runs. insanity, some insane stuff from Spencer Horwitz. Just every single swing he had, he got the barrel on the ball. 2 home runs, a double. Absolutely insane stuff. I love to see Spencer Horwitz raking. And this is a guy that we can get excited about from the left side of the plate. We do need lefty bats on this team. It's still, you got Dalton Varsho, you got guys that were here in place but weren't necessarily getting it done. Spencer Horwitz is playing his way into a very high spot in this order coming into the 2025 season.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, right? Spencer Horwitz is going to be a part of this team next year, and I think you're dumb to think that he won't be. Spencer Horwitz has been absolutely outstanding since joining the team. I mean, yeah, he's gone through a little bit of dips, but, first real crack at the MLB here for Spencer Horwitz, and it's great to see. I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far from him, and I can bet we're going to be seeing a ton more from him in 2025. In saying that, Carter, I mean, again, we did our lineups last episode of sort of where these guys would be placing. And I think both of us were saying that if this team was right now, Spencer Horwitz wouldn't leave the top 4 of this lineup. And it's, place him where you would, if it's second, if it's fourth. I mean, Spencer Horwitz is going to fit somewhere in that lineup. And I mean, yes, there's offseason moves and there's things that could and probably, hopefully should happen that might push him out of there for at least the start. But I could see him making a climb right back into that top 4 next season. Carter, this is sort of just a wild weekend. We've talked a little bit about the games and stuff, but a shout out to Jose Barrios. I mean, again, a guy that's sort of been up and down all year. Like you really don't know what kind of performance you're going to get from him, especially as of late. He goes 6 innings, gives up 5 hits, 1 earned run, strikes out 5 and walks 1. I mean, this is just a pretty classic, solid Jose Barrios day. I was really impressed with what I've seen from him. And I mean, honestly, all our pitchers, Carter, there's not a ton of them that I'm really, really upset with for our starters anyway. I don't know, man. What are you thinking about Jose Barrios? Like, I'm sort of still in that mushy middle with him. Like, I'm not 100% sold every time that he goes out on the mound because I don't know what I'm going to get. But are you sort of with me, or are you like fully in, or are you sort of less?
I'm fully in on Jose Barrios. I'm definitely confident when he's going up there. I think this guy, like you go look over his career, and maybe the game logs aren't going to say he's the most consistent pitcher. When you look from a yearly to year basis, this guy is the epitome of consistency. He's going to give you a 3.5 to 4 ERA. He's a guy that is going to be a third, maybe second, can even provide you some ace talent level worth of pitching, especially you saw that in April, won pitcher of the month. Bound Francis joining him obviously later on. When you look at Jose Barrios, it's a guy it's never going to be the flashiest start of all time. He's not going to go out there and throw 15 strikeouts. He's going to get the ball put in play. They're going to have soft contact, and that's why this guy can lug so many innings. You see him; he's almost like a timestamp where you can put this guy in for 5, 6, 7 innings. It's really fun to watch. I think we're really blessed to be able to watch a guy like Jose Barrios on this team who, down the stretch in this year, if you want to talk about pitchers on the Toronto Blue Jays, he is definitely, you could argue that he was the best, but you could definitely put him at 3 or 4 as well. So this is a very deep starting rotation. To have Jose Barrios kind of manning that the higher side of this rotation is definitely a fun one to watch. But for me, consistency with Jose Barrios, not really a problem. Again, you can see pretty early on if Jose Barrios has the stuff or not. Again, you see on the TV screen, if he's still in that slurve and it's not moving, it's probably going to get hit around a little bit. The only thing with Jose Barrios, another epitome to his consistency, is he's probably going to give up the longest home run ball of all time, and it may still not have landed in some of the starts that he has pitched. But Jose Barrios, I'm never worried when he's going out there.
Yeah, and maybe I worded that wrong. I don't think I'm worried about him. I just think that, like early on, we compared him to Kevin Gausman, who's the ace and whatever else. There's just some games where Jose Barrios will get lit up, and then he'll go on a 2 to 3 game, like sort of not great. It's not terrible, but it's not a good stretch. And then he'll come back and he'll be just outstanding for another 3 games. Like in that sense, it's sort of all over the place. But yeah, you're right. When you look over his career numbers, he is very consistent. You know what you're going to get. If you sign Jose Barrios, you know what kind of player you're going to get. It's more so a little bit more for the game to game to me. Is he going to be absolutely lights out, or is he going to be just very mediocre? And we've had some mediocre games from Jose Barrios, but for sure on Saturday, this game was not one of them.
Yeah, it just looked great. Looked absolutely phenomenal. Again, we always talk about Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, these pitchers on this team. Jose Barrios could probably, unless he's going out there and he's putting up stinker after stinker after stinker, he is the least of my worries on this Toronto Blue Jays team right now. There's a lot of risk, obviously, with all the young players that you do have. So it is nice to have a veteran that has been reliable and consistent throughout his career. Like I said, they're just literally one of the last things that I would be worried about on the Toronto Blue Jays is Jose Barrios and what he's going to do out there every fifth day of the rotation, every sixth day now, I guess, as they made the switch, giving their starting rotation a little bit more rest time. But obviously the Atlanta Braves try to do their little fake comeback, the Toronto Blue Jays fake comeback, 9-5. This game, though, just was completely dominated by the Blue Jays. Such a fun game of baseball to watch. It seemed like everything was clicking. A lot of good at-bats. Lefties were mashing in this game. Joey Lopervito looked good. Will Wagner looked good. And again, these are the guys that we do have the magnifying glasses on. We do have the binoculars out for. These are the younger guys. These are the guys that need to prove it. And they definitely proved it against Schwellenbach on that Saturday.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I was just looking at another guy, Nathan Lucas. I mean, he goes 3 for 5, 3 singles, but just a great day. And you can really tell, right? Some guys are really pushing the needle on trying to be a part of this team next year. And you know what? We talked about Will Wagner and where would he be? But I mean, my point to Will Wagner was I just haven't seen enough games from him. But if he continues on for the rest of this season playing, maybe not even this good, but just solid, I could very well see him having a spot at the end of the day. So we'll sort of see what happens with some of these guys. Ernie Clement, again, 2 for 4 for Ernie Clement. And this guy's a stud. He's an absolute beauty. We're going to have to see what happens sort of moving forward in the last couple weeks of the season because we're getting close to the end. And sadly, Carter, there will be a player that won't be able to rejoin this Toronto Blue Jays team this season. So we're going to take a quick break, but then we'll be right back. And Carter will unveil who that player is and sort of what's going to happen moving forward.
Take care of all your vehicular maintenance needs with our partner, eBay Motors. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. Over 122 million parts for your vehicle, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. I haven't told this story on this podcast for a while, but I used to have this mom van. It was a Pontiac Montana. I was the first one in my grade to get my license. So I was always packing that thing full of my friends. And eBay Motors helped me keep that thing on the road for maybe a little bit too long. There was a little rust issues that they helped me out with. So if you want to keep your ride or die on the road for an extended period of time, choose eBay Motors. You can go to ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available for U.S. customers. See, Braden, don't look now, but we did our picks for 2025, and you gave me a little bit of a weird look when I said Nathan Lucas. But you want to know what this guy's career average is in the MLB? 319, OPS, 858. You want to ask how many at-bats he had? It's not a lot, but still, numbers speak for themselves. That is not the guy that I want to go into right now. It's actually a bullpen guy for how bad this bullpen is. You were hoping that you get some reinforcements for where we are in the season. I don't think anyone is necessarily on that same front anymore, but it's Jordan Romano. We get some news finally about closer Jordan Romano, and he has been shut down for the remainder of 2024, will not be coming back. His progressions and just his rehab assignments working his way back have gone a lot slower than expected. So with their superstar closers, some may argue superstar closer, but look at the stats. With your closer, there's 20 games left in the season. There's no need to rush this guy back. You're not playing meaningful baseball. Chad Green's doing fine in this role right now. Gives you an opportunity as well to get through some of these bullpen arms that you do have in your system. You want to test them out over the last 20 games. Good opportunity to maybe find who can handle some high leverage situations as well. But it's definitely tough to see that Jordan Romano will not be pitching again for the Toronto Blue Jays just to gain some momentum for 2025.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? You want to let guys sort of get back into what they've been doing, and you don't want to throw them out too early, right? You don't want to rush guys back. You want them to have the time to figure it out. And I think especially for a guy like Jordan Romano in meaningless baseball at this point, I mean, we can go out there and say it. I mean, we've said it for the past 2 months, it feels like, that we're playing meaningless baseball. So yeah, no, I don't disagree with this whatsoever. I think the writing was on the wall a little bit. Like we've heard more about Bo Bichette, and okay, Bo Bichette's probably going to make his return. He's probably going to be coming back. But at the end of the day, we really haven't heard a ton about Jordan Romano or how anything was going. So I think for me, I sort of already had it in my head that Jordan Romano wasn't going to be coming back this season. And sure enough, that's where we're at. Yeah, it's for us, like it's upsetting. Like he's a guy that everybody likes to see. When the light show goes off in the ballpark, it's a ton of fun. But you know what? Moving into 2025, that's a guy that needs to be good for this team to succeed, without a doubt. I mean, he's your closer. You need your closer to be good. So, I don't hate giving him a little bit more time off, trying to work things out, make sure that he's back in tip-top shape for 2025. Hopefully he doesn't overdo it in the summer. I know coming off injury, some guys want to get back into it really hard and really work things out. But, take your time, make sure that your progressions are going well, make sure that you're not rushing. And that's the key for Jordan Romano.
Yeah, and John Schneider already alluded to this, that the way they sounded it, they made it sound, is that he probably could have came back. It's just where the Toronto Blue Jays are at. There's just no need for it. John Schneider came out in an interview and said he'll continue his throwing program and head into a normal offseason, which is very good for Jordan Romano. When you look at this guy's consistency, it's sort of reminded me of a little bit of like a Jose Barrios thing from 2022. Obviously, very bad years, did not really have their stuff. You have an offseason, you figure some stuff out. I can see Jordan Romano coming back next year and then being a top 5 closer in baseball once again, being very high up there in saves. This is a guy that I feel like a lot of people are either writing off or forgetting about. Not a lot of Jordan Romano talks of how bad this bullpen has been, albeit he hasn't played in a long time. So I guess that is fair for some of the fans. I know from time to time, I'm not really remembering Jordan Romano. Same thing can be said about Bo Bichette. You're just focused on what's in front of you. So with Jordan Romano, again, this is a guy that you need to, like you said, you need to be very good if you want to be a successful baseball team. This guy should be the backbone of your bullpen, a guy that you want to be your closer, has shown he can be your closer and do it at an effective rate for a long time. So I'm not worried about Jordan Romano whatsoever. We'll talk about him way more in the offseason. We'll get a ton of updates and stuff as well. But Jordan Romano, comeback season 2025.
Yeah, dude, we need it. We need him to be good. We need the bullpen to be good, and there's going to have to be additions made in the offseason, as we've talked about, from, if it is the, an extra bat, an extra 2 bats, the bullpen. I mean, there's got to be additions everywhere. But Jordan Romano coming back is huge for this ball club. So looking forward to seeing him back next season, sort of primed and ready to go. But in saying that, Carter, we got another series to preview a little bit here. Not anything crazy. I mean, it's the Mets. These games just don't matter at all, but it's still baseball. I'm still watching. I know you are. We're still enjoying ourselves.
Well, especially when these NL teams come around where you don't see that often. Like the New York Mets really kind of turn around their season. That's what can give you hope a little bit for the Toronto Blue Jays. Mets were not a very good baseball team last season. Obviously, they make some moves in free agency in the offseason. Look at them now. They're in the wild card spot. Hopefully, the Toronto Blue Jays can do that as well. But yeah, when you're seeing some guys that you don't see every single day, like obviously it's fun when you play the New York Yankees, but to play another team from New York, switch things up, I'm definitely not going to hate on that.
No, exactly. So just going into it, Carter, we got Chris Bassett versus Peterson on Monday. Tuesday, we got Blackburn versus Bowden Francis, which that's the one I'll be keeping a hot eye on. As I always say, if you're Bowden Francis, if it's a Bowden Francis game, I'll be dialed in. I'll be tuned right in because I want to see that guy absolutely chuck. And that's what he's been doing lately. Then we got Manaea versus Kevin Gausman, obviously. That'll be an interesting one too. Honestly, I've been pretty bad with keeping up with some of these NL teams and how guys are doing. And Sean Manaea is sort of one of those guys that I actually have him on my fantasy team. I just have no idea like if he's good or not anymore. Like I'm very confused. I'll watch a game and I'll be like, oh, wow, he looks amazing. Like, why aren't people talking about this guy more? And then the next game I'll watch him like, Jesus, like what's going on here?
Yeah, guys definitely having a bounce back season, but I have to agree. Like, AL, you ask me AL questions, you ask me NL questions. It's like 2 different worlds. You see, like, especially with how Blue Jays baseball used to be. You see your division so many times throughout a year, 19 times. You're playing almost half your games against your division. Then the other majority of them are just against AL teams. So, like, if you're going to ask me, like, what did the third baseman on the Colorado Rockies do 2 years ago? I'm probably not going to know that because it's the Colorado Rockies for one, and it's the NL. You don't face them at all. You don't see them, and the Colorado Rockies are not good. I know it is Ryan McMahon right now, but that's credit to me, I guess, for knowing the Colorado Rockies third baseman. But yeah, with these NL teams, and just with baseball in general, we're at this point. There's 3 weeks left in the Toronto Blue Jays season, so we just got to sit back, enjoy it. Obviously, maybe we'll get a little bit higher with the wins. Obviously, we won't lose too much sleep over the losses at this point. I guess to end this up, I know I've talked to you about this before, but I just want to know if like the Toronto Blue Jays kind of like beating this out of you a little bit. I know we said that obviously big picture for the team and their success in the future, you want them to lose every game. But for you as a fan, where are you at with the Toronto Blue Jays? Are you starting to care slightly less that they're losing now, or where are we at?
I mean, obviously, I'm still, I'm not mad. At the beginning of the year, I would come on here and be pretty fired up, pretty upset about the losses, right? Especially when games you felt like when games they shouldn't have lost, and somehow they found a way to. Oh my goodness, man! I remember just like banging my head on the wall a little bit, and now we're at the point where yes, I still hate to lose. I don't think if you're any fan of any team, you never really want to see your team lose. But we're at the point now where I'm just sort of dull to it. I think it doesn't hit as hard. And now, when you're talking about possibly getting a number one pick from it, I have to be a little bit happy with that. At least like I'm seeing sort of the light at the end of the tunnel from this season a little bit. So I'm moving on from it. I think I see pieces that can be useful moving forward into 2025. And do I necessarily believe that this team is going to be this, World Series contender next year? No, but I see pieces that they might be better. And I think that's the key, because as long as you can make the playoffs in baseball, anything can happen. It is a crazy game. And like, I mean, that's like the playoffs in any sport. But I think in baseball especially, it's such a weird game. It's such a streaky game that so as long as this team can get into the playoffs next season, you really never know what's going to happen.
Oh, you look at it throughout history. Obviously, the D-backs doing it a couple of years ago, just running the table. The Texas Rangers, a wild card team, ended up winning the whole thing. So we've just kind of switched up our viewpoints here on the shiny new prospect compared to the shiny trophy that we were once set out at the start of this season. But again, with the Toronto Blue Jays, where I'm kind of at with this is if the Toronto Blue Jays win 72 games or 78 games, 2 years from now, it's not going to, well, today, it's not affecting me whatsoever. It doesn't matter. The Toronto Blue Jays did not make the playoffs. They aren't going to win. But I've always been a guy that said, I don't want to bet against my favorite teams. And I'm just going to stick with that for the Toronto Blue Jays. But when I watch the Carolina Panthers get absolutely dominated in the first week of the season, that's a team that is tough not to cheer against. And I've been a fan of the Panthers for a long time. Well, we'll keep the Panthers in their own respective league and hopefully keep them as far away from the Toronto Blue Jays as possible, because I cannot handle watching two organizations with that same fate. But it's where we're at with the Toronto Blue Jays. We're not talking about the playoffs. We're talking about how these prospects might develop for the coming years.
Yeah, dude. And you know what? Sort of, I don't know. I'm sort of just, I'm done. I'm sort of tired. I'm tired of watching bad baseball. And that's why I'm really hoping next year that there's moves made, that things will start to happen, and we can come on this podcast and be really excited about what the future holds for this team. In saying that, a couple of the things I want to get to, Carter, starting before we get out of here. I'm going to the finals in fantasy baseball that none of us actually check. Actually, I forgot about it until I saw that the guy who I'm going to be facing the finals picked up a guy. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's who I'm playing. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. I don't think there's like no money involved anymore because nobody paid, and now we're at the end of the year. And then Carter, also me and you, a little side bet this week for fantasy football. I think you're going to take it. I was pretty happy with where my team was at, and then it sort of all went downhill pretty quickly. So yeah, I won't say congrats yet.
Cooper Kupp kind of dimmed your mood a little bit, that's for sure. But for the people that care, if you're staying this late into the episode, we definitely appreciate it. But I'll just quickly throw out our scores and what we're looking at. So I'm at 115.02. Brandon is at 87.88. He has Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk still to go. So a nice stack there with the Niners. And I still have George Kittle. So he's going to need a pretty big day from Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, maybe a rushing touchdown from Brock Purdy. And George Kittle might just have to sit this one out for your fantasy team. But it'll come down to the wire. You were a little bit chirping today before the Cooper Kupp game. You thought you had it for sure. I've been around the block a couple times. Didn't want to say too much, and I'm still not going to say too much here because I've seen Brandon Ayuk go off 4. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing I've ever seen. But other than that, that's pretty much all I got Toronto Blue Jays game wise. Again, I'm still not happy when they lose, but I probably would have been throwing plates, maybe like smacking the couch and stuff like that after that third game of the series. Now it's just like, oh, that definitely sucks. But again, you got to enjoy it while it's here. I'm starting to realize that we only have 3 weeks of baseball left. And I'm not going to get too upset, especially when we're in a direction we are right now. We could have been watching Kevin Kiermaier and Justin Turner playing baseball, but now we're watching at least players with a little bit more of a future and just more playing time in the league ahead of us.
Yeah, and you know what? I just want to, as always, I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen every day as well. If you want to find a second listen, go check out Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, our guy Sully. He does a great job. He keeps you up to date on all the interesting storylines going on within the MLB. So go check that out for sure, anywhere you find your podcast and on YouTube as well, guys. This is the start of the week. Start of the week here. Let's kick things off. Keep the episodes. We're going to keep the episodes coming. And we got some interesting stuff in the pipeline for you guys towards the end of the year. So keep that, just remember that when the season ends. Just remember to come back to Locked On Blue Jays because they might have a little bit of an interesting video here too. Interesting video or two here. There we go. It's late again. Jesus. All right. Anyway, take it easy. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.